Good Friday evening and welcome to the NCWLIFE Evening News. I'm Grant Olson. Before we get to today's top news stories, let's take a quick look outside our weather window. And man, could it have been any nicer? Well, I guess it could have been, but it was nice for March 12th today. Beautiful temperatures and this beautiful shot looking down at our neighboring town, Kashmir, from our Steins Hill Sky-Fi Tower camera. And just a beautiful day all across north central Washington today with temperatures primarily in the lower to mid 50s. And we'll have more weather for you coming up a little later, but I do want to remind you one more time to spring forward when you go to bed Saturday night. So we will gain another hour of light in the evening time as we get into next week. Once again, your weather forecast coming up a little bit later on. And now a few of the stories we're following for you tonight. The 24-year-old Wenatchee man whose careless firearm handling led to a serious shooting last December in Leavenworth was sentenced yesterday. A Wenatchee woman already charged in a drug trafficking conspiracy case is now accused of stealing more than $160,000 from an elderly relative. And for nearly 6 decades, Washington farm workers haven't qualified for overtime pay, and now that could change. But first, our top story tonight. Washington Governor Jay Inslee announced yesterday that on March 22nd, the entire state will move to a new Phase 3 of the state's COVID-19 reopening plan. That newly unveiled phase opens up more capacity at businesses and sporting events, among other things. Businesses, including restaurants, fitness centers, and movie theaters, will be allowed 50% capacity, up from the current 25%. Outdoor events like high school graduations and concerts also will be allowed up to 50% capacity.
Because of the progress we've made in reducing the incidence of this disease, as well as our tremendous efforts to get people vaccinated, our reopening plan is now based on a on a county rather than regional basis. So the State Department of Health will evaluate progress every 3 weeks. And the first review will be April 12th. All counties' success under this plan will be monitored by 2 health metrics: the new COVID cases they experience per 1,000 and new COVID hospitalizations. Similarly, smaller counties will have a somewhat different criteria. For counties with more than 50,000 residents, that's 22 counties total, the rates you see on this graph will determine whether a county stays or moves in phases. This plan has an additional fail-safe. If at any point statewide ICU capacity reaches 90%, the county would have to move backwards into the previous phase. Now, we're excited to take this step forward. We're going to keep evaluating our progress. We think there's reason to be optimistic, and we think this gives us a way to keep moving forward.
The changes also mean more Washingtonians will qualify for vaccinations beginning on March 17th. Inslee says the changes affect whole classes of workers and residents.
Now, this tier includes workers in agriculture, food processing, grocery stores, public transit, firefighters, law enforcement, as well as workers in corrections, jails, and detention centers. It also includes over 16-year-olds who are pregnant or who have a disability that puts them at a high risk. This is another tremendous step forward in our fight against this pandemic. We're glad to be able to advance this even a week earlier than we thought we were going to be able to do, to get more shots into arms as quickly as possible.
The 24-year-old Wenatchee man whose careless firearm handling led to a serious shooting last December in Leavenworth will serve a suspended sentence. Ricardo Barrales Vergara pleaded guilty this week to carrying a concealed pistol and reckless driving almost 3 months after a passenger in Barrales' vehicle was wounded by a bullet from his handgun. Barrales had left his firearm on the roof of his car and was turning donuts in a Leavenworth parking lot when the .38 caliber handgun fell off the car and discharged. The bullet traveled through the car door and struck the 20-year-old passenger in the ribs. The passenger survived. Judge Leslie Allen suspended a 364-day jail sentence for Barrales, but he must spend 2 years on probation. Meanwhile, a Wenatchee woman already charged in a drug trafficking conspiracy case is now accused of stealing more than $160,000 from an elderly relative. Investigators say 67-year-old Deborah Sue Peak has power of attorney for the relative's medical care and transferred the money illegally into her own accounts between 2017 and 2020. Peak must make her first court appearance on the allegation in Chelan County Court on March 24th. She's not yet been charged in that investigation, but she's already facing trial for allegedly operating a heroin ring out of her home with 3 other men. Peak was arrested in that case last spring. Well, for nearly 6 decades, Washington farm workers haven't qualified for overtime pay. Well, that could change under a bill that moved through the state Senate this week. Senate Bill 5172 passed 37-12. It follows a Supreme Court ruling that exempting Washington's dairy workers from overtime pay was unconstitutional and seeks to put the same protections in place for harvest workers and other agricultural employees. It must pass the House by mid-April to become law this year. 12th District Senator Brad Hawkins was one of the votes against that bill. Coming up next, Public Lands Commissioner Hillary Franz got one of her wishes granted by the State House this week. If you happen to spot a low-flying airplane this weekend near Rock Island Dam, it's more than likely doing work for the Chelan County PUD. And first responders were out in force in Moses Lake this week, helping serve breakfast to local school children during National School Breakfast Week. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News.
Don't worry, all the fun is around the corner. There's no better time to get ready than now with Blue Lagoon Pool and Spa Spring Sale. Stock Up and Save sale is now going on in-store and online at bluelagoonpoolandspa.com. Even pool heaters are on sale. Financing available upon approval. Credit 24-month, no interest with equal payments. Stop by today or order online at bluelagoonpoolandspa.com. Free water testing available in-store or curbside. Going on now through June 1st.
Low prices. Every aisle. Every department. Every day. We're working to save you money. Winco.
Now in Wenatchee at 1340 North Wenatchee Avenue.
For almost 30 years, Link has been providing transit service to Chelan and Douglas counties. Now Link wants your input to make your transit system even better. Our region is growing in leaps and bounds, and public transit needs to improve to keep pace with this growth. We want to make public transit more efficient, more accessible, and more convenient for the people we serve, but we can't build a better system without you. So please make your voice heard and tell us how transit service can be designed to best serve you by taking our survey at www.movinglinkforward.com. Link Transit, your way to go.
Welcome back. In another news, citing a mental health crisis affecting K-12 students amid the COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Jay Inslee today ordered all Washington schools to provide instruction that includes in-person on-site classes. Public schools have not had full-time classes since March 13th of last year, when the governor and superintendent of public instruction, Chris Reichdahl, ordered them closed to prevent viral spread. More than half of the schools in the Washington state have returned to some in-person teaching every week, but Inslee said that number needs to grow.
But we do know that many of our children have not been able to thrive as we wish them to do so without on-site education, without that magic connection that enlightens children when they have access to a tremendous educator in a classroom. For them, we're taking action today, and I'm pleased to do so. More than half of our schools have returned to on-site education, but there are still hundreds of thousands of students who do not have access to that relationship with their teacher in person.
What we see in the education system is the effects of isolation and the trauma of what's happened for a lot of our students. In the form of engagement or student attendance, we are unfortunately, at every grade level seeing impacts, but especially middle school and high school, where we take a 3-year look every January for the last 3 years and see that attendance, full day of absence, additional absence this year, a spike we have never seen. You extrapolate that over the duration of a school year, you're talking about 9 or 10 more days of absence for the typical middle school student or more, and a very similar pattern in high school. As a result, academically, students are struggling as well.
Schools in Washington expect to receive about $2.6 billion in pandemic aid under the American Rescue Plan. Inslee said some of that money should be put toward children's mental health support as they re-enter classrooms. Public Lands Commissioner Hillary Franz got one of her wishes granted by the State House this week, a $125 million funding bill to pay for fighting and preventing wildfires passed the chamber unanimously. Franz has been campaigning for years for a new permanent funding structure to battle wildland fire risks. The legislation comes on the heels of a historically destructive 2020 fire season with over 800,000 acres burned and more than 1,600 fires and 298 homes lost, including the near total destruction of the town of Malden. The bill now advances to the state Senate. Well, if you happen to spot a low-flying airplane this weekend near Rock Island Dam, more than likely it's doing work for the Chelan County PUD. The plane will fly low over the reservoir and surrounding area for 4 to 6 hours, both Saturday and Sunday. The flight will use light detection and ranging technology to create a high-resolution map of the Columbia River shorelines for the PUD as part of its relicensing work on the dam. First responders were out in force in Moses Lake this week, helping serve breakfast to local school children during National School Breakfast Week. On Tuesday, Washington State Patrol Trooper Thomas LaFace and Grant County Fire District 5 Battalion Chief Bob Horst, along with firefighter Jordan Orst, were at Knowles Vista Elementary serving up breakfast. Then on Friday, a large group of first responders from the Fire District, State Patrol, and Moses Lake Police Department were at both Larson Heights and North Elementary schools helping out with breakfast. Washington State Patrol Trooper John Bryant said he had a great time both with breakfast and talking with a kindergarten class. You're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News. Coming up next, tonight's feature story and your complete local weather forecast. That and much more still to come on the NCWLIFE Evening News. Please stay with us.
I'm Tom from Alpine Air Heating and Cooling. At Alpine Air, we think of ourselves as customer service-oriented retailers. When you make an appointment, please visit our store, meet our people, see our shop. We are serious about heating and air conditioning. Carrier and Alpine Air are offering huge factory rebates and financing options for all your needs. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Alpine Air. Call for your free replacement estimate. Heat and air, call Alpine Air, 662-6846.
At Winco, we do everything to save you money. Winco.
Mary Maids of Wenatchee has been professionally cleaning and sanitizing homes and businesses in North Central Washington since 1998. Mary Maids uses commercial-grade cleaners and viricides. Mary Maids has implemented additional safety and sanitation protocols. They are strictly following CDC guidelines for the safety of their clients and employees. For expert help with cleaning and sanitizing your home or business, call or look up Mary Maids of Wenatchee to schedule your free estimate today.
At Winco, we're working to save you money. Every aisle, every department, every day. Winco.
Welcome back to the NCWLIFE Evening News. In tonight's feature story, 1 year into the COVID-19 pandemic, the overall picture is starting to brighten. More vaccines, fewer new cases, masks, and distancing everywhere you go. But on Thursday, Washington State epidemiologists said the curve of new cases is no longer declining, and new variants are showing up in the state, meaning the coronavirus could be with us for some time.
We're moving into a new era of this pandemic. While I initially thought, it's going to be this gradual phase out and the virus goes away, it's not unrolling that way. I think if you look at our COVID dashboard and you look at the epi page, we had a first wave in March, and then it came down to a baseline. The second wave came to a baseline that was higher than the first, and that clearly seeded the third wave, which has now come down to a flattening, which is higher than the previous two baselines. So after every wave, we're having a higher baseline. This sets us up for a continued wave. So I'm very concerned about the possibility of a fourth wave.
We're continuing to detect more cases of the new variants, with 99 cases of the B117, one case now of the P1 variant, which I'm going to describe in a moment, and 5 cases of the B1351 variant as of yesterday. So the 99 cases of B117 is up from the 70 cases last week. The P1 variant case is new and is a particular concern. As you know, this has been found in Brazil, and we have some evidence that the strain, not just the concern for spreading more easily and antibodies from vaccines or previous infection may be less effective against it. So we need to watch this one very, very closely.
It's very concerning. There aren't a lot of P1 variants in the United States, and for us to find one in Washington really shows us that it's a concern. Globally, 50% of the cases are in the countries that have the ability to do genotyping. 50% of their isolates are these variants of concern. And nationwide, it's estimated that from the IDM report, that 25% of the isolates from the US are these variants. So I'm concerned. We're at a higher rate post third wave. We're starting to see these variants, including the rarer one, the P1. And I'm really concerned about where this sets us up for the future.
Time now to take a look at your North Central Washington weather forecast. Hope you had a great Friday, and welcome to the weekend, and it is going to be spectacular. I'll talk about that in a second, but talk about spectacular. How about this shot today from our Steins Hill camera up in Kashmir, and this is Kashmir. Beautiful day today with just some high wispy clouds, lots of blue sky, and very mild temperatures. In fact, for the second day in a row today, unofficially 55 degrees. Beautiful out there. 52 is our normal high for this time of year. 28 is where we started this morning, so made a lot of progress throughout the day today. 34 is our normal low temperature. A beautiful March 12th back in 2015. It was 68 degrees. Record low 18 in 1969. Sunrise 6:19 this morning, and the sunset now is at 6:03. Let's take a look at your Saturday weather, and I don't think there's going to be any complaints about tomorrow's weather. Warmer and sunny for your Saturday weather. Look at this. 61 Moses Lake, 60 in Ephrata, pushing 60 in Quincy. I think we'll be 57. Ellensburg as well at 57. Kashmir, beautiful for you at 56. And also a nice day to head up to Lake Chelan tomorrow with a high temperature of 56 degrees. And now, as we get into our next 7 days, tonight mostly clear skies. Here's our area of high pressure right here, and that top of that high pressure ridge right over us into southern British Columbia, and that's going to make for some beautiful weather. We talked about Saturday. We're not the only ones that are going to see sunshine all up and down the west coast, and our temperatures on Saturday in the mid to upper, maybe even 60 degrees as we just showed you. And then another little system will begin moving in as we get into Sunday. Showers, especially in the western part of the state. I think it's going to be hit and miss showers for us on Sunday here in north central Washington. Just a little bit of blue over us there, so about a 20% chance of the wet stuff. Then that's all going to end, and we're back to the quiet, nice weather on Monday with mostly sunny skies. It will just be slightly cooler as we see some northwest westerly flow come into Washington State. Not going to cool down much, though. We're going to stay in the low 50s. On Tuesday, sunny, a bit warmer, and that means creeping back up to the middle 50s for Tuesday. Another bit of a system beginning to wrap itself up out in the Pacific, too, but it's not going to affect us on St. Patrick's Day Wednesday, where we expect partly cloudy skies and mild temperatures once again. But as we get into Thursday, that's when this system could kick into gear. This is early in the day, and as we progress throughout the day, expect partly cloudy skies at first, and then a chance for showers, especially into the evening and overnight, Thursday into Friday. That will be our best chance for rain. Let's take a look now at your 7-day forecast. Tonight, 32 degrees. Beautiful tomorrow, 57. Hope you enjoy it. Maybe hit and miss showers on Sunday. If you do have outdoor plans, don't change them on Sunday because it's going to be that kind of day. 53, a little cooler Monday, and 51, and then right back into the mid-50s as we get into Wednesday and Thursday with highs of 54 and 55. And that's a look at your local weather forecast. Coming up next, tonight's sports report with Eric Granstrom and more as the NCWLIFE Evening News continues right after this.
Family roles change with time. You may find yourself being an unpaid caregiver to a loved one. Caregiving can be rewarding, but also stressful. Taking care of yourself is vital. Aging and Adult Care of Central Washington has low or no cost services for unpaid caregivers, such as in-home support, care supplies, and counseling. Connect in your local area by calling Aging and Adult Care at 800-572-4459 and mention you're interested in caregiver support. And now it's a sports update on the NCWLIFE channel.
And a happy Friday to you. We'll call it the Battle of the Bridge or the Bridge of Sportsmanship, whatever you call it. Eastmont Wenatchee football meet for the 52nd time tonight. Eastmont has won the past 3 of these matchups, but Panther senior lineman Sim Cass says he thinks this could be the one that Wenatchee wins.
Right, yeah, it's been, like you said, 3 years, and every year's been a fun game. It's been a close game, but I think this is our year. We're looking sharp. We got a good offense going, and I think we have a good shot on Friday.
Wenatchee's 1-0 after a 28-7 win over Moses Lake, while the Wildcats are 0-1 after falling to Royal 50-10. Eastmont coach Michael Don says rust was a major factor in last week's loss.
We were sloppy. We turned the ball over, I believe, 6 times all of last regular season. We turned it over 5 times in our first game. We had guys going the wrong way, wrong assignments, and a lot of new guys out there. We're still young. We only play 6 seniors total that start for us, and we 2 platoons. So out of 22 guys, only 6 are seniors. And we saw a lot of the young mistakes come out, but we had a better week of practice this week. Kids are getting dialed in, getting back into it, and we're just a long ways behind where we're used to. And as coaches, we needed to do a better job during the pandemic of trying to get that stuff done. And it was just new to all of us, and I don't know if we did the best job we could, but we tried.
Eastmont senior defensive captain Max Praser says he and his teammates are still just getting used to being out on the field again after missing 16 months without football.
You just got to put in more work than normal, It's weird having this amount of time, not being able to get our practices in the summer. It's been so long since we've, hit with pads on. We've seen lots of injuries. Their body's not ready to play football, being 16 months since the last time we put on pads. So it's been tough, but we're getting through it.
Panther coach Scott Devereaux says he expects Eastmont to bounce back after a tough opening night loss last Friday.
Royal threw a lot of formations at him, and I think Eastmont was confused a bit going into the game. And, we all know Royal's been practicing a long time. They have a little different deal going on there. They're in mid-season form, and the rest of us are looking like game 1, So I think they'll be better prepared this week. I'm sure they had a great week of practice after that. So, I expect it to be a tough game.
Eastmont's coach Don says this game might be a matchup of speed versus speed.
I think that's actually what we probably do reasonably well is we have some speed. We got a lot of guys who can run. We got linebackers who can run. We've got, we don't have huge guys on defense. Outside of our nose guard, Alex Dufour, who's about 270, every other guy on our defense is under 220 and can run. So, we're hoping that we can get out there and run with them and negate the speed and just try to rally to him and make sure that they don't hit us with explosive plays, because that's kind of what we saw on film, is a lot of explosive plays versus Moses Lake.
Grant and I have your pregame coming up tonight, and then kickoff at 7 o'clock here on the NCWLIFE channel. You might see some fans in the stands for tonight's game, only because of an agreement to get senior parents into the contest. Eastmont coach Michael Don says they've worked on a compromise.
We'll have senior parents in there this Friday. Both us and Wenatchee have dropped our rosters down a little bit for this one, to make room for some senior parents so they can enjoy their kids' last games in high school.
Of course, Don says he wishes they could have more people in the stands, but the 200 limit mandated by the state really hurts football because of the sheer numbers involved for a varsity game.
Normally we suit up 60-plus kids, and this year we've had to shrink our rosters down to get under the 200 capacity to make room for everything that makes a game happen, whether it's coaches or filmers or, obviously live streaming the game and putting the game on TV, officials. You don't realize how many people are involved in a football game. And, we're right now, varsity football is the only sport that has the most limited access for spectators.
Wenatchee's coach Scott Devereaux says the important thing is to revel in the fact that the kids have an opportunity to play football again, whether there are fans in the stands or not.
Winning and losing will take care of itself. Again, we're trying to play it the best we possibly can, and whatever ends up on the scoreboard is going to be the scoreboard. And I'm not going to worry about it. I'm trying to remind the guys of that. We have a little brotherhood sticker on the back of our helmet. That's one of our goals this year. Is a lot of stuff has gone on in the world in the past year, and I've told them, I think if everybody played high school football, if every boy played high school football, there'd be a lot less grief in the world today, because nothing breaks down barriers like competing with other people.
Each team is allowed 2 passes per senior, so do the math. That's 32 people that could be present to watch tonight's game in person. 6 other prep football games around the region tonight. Let's take a look. Cashmere plays at Moses Lake. Ephrata hosts Royal. Chelan travels to Omak. Cascade welcomes Quincy. Brewster plays host to Tonasket. And Elmira Cooley Heartline plays at Entiat. All those games kick off at 7 o'clock. 1 soccer match last night and 8 more coming up tomorrow. Cashmere traveled to Omak, came away with a 2-0 win on CTL play yesterday. Eastmont plays host to Cascade on a girls soccer match at Wildcat Stadium on Saturday. Sebastian Moraga, Matt Weisen have your play-by-play. That begins with the pregame at 12:50 tomorrow. The rest of the schedule all kicks off at 1 o'clock as well, with Wenatchee hosting Cashmere, Royals at Moses Lake, Ephrata travels to Warden, Quincy hosts Omak, Okanagan plays at Brewster, Chelan is at Walook, and Bridgeport takes on Liberty Bell. Prep volleyball this weekend, 3 locations to tell you about. Quincy and Omak start play at Wenatchee High School tomorrow morning at 10:30. Cascade and Eastmont travel to Moses Lake, and Ephrata plays host to Chelan and Cashmere. Finally, Mariners played to their 5th, count them 5, preseason ties with the Dodgers yesterday. 4-all the final. Jake Fraley hit a 3-run homer for Seattle. Corey Seager hit a 2-run shot for Los Angeles. The Mariners are taking on Cincinnati today. That's a look at sports news. I'm Eric Granstrom. See you with football later on. Have a safe and sane weekend. We'll see you on Monday, too. Grant, back to you.
Take a breath, Eric. Thanks. Now let's check in with Dan Kuntz for a look at what's coming up Monday morning on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Dan?
Thank you very much, Grant. I hope everybody has a fantabulous weekend. I hope you get a chance to get out and enjoy this beautiful weather. Come Monday on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, we will have highlights of tonight's Panther Wildcat football game. We'll have highlights of tomorrow's Wildcat Cascade Kodiak girls soccer game. So get ready for that in case you miss it over the weekend. We'll have your beautiful weather forecast. We'll have your latest news. Start your next work week live and local with Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. And by golly, that's the show I host. That works out good for everybody, doesn't it? Plus, I'll rant and rave about daylight saving again because I just can't get enough of that. We will see you Monday morning at 7 a.m. Or is it 6 a.m.? See, I'm already confused. Grant, back to you.
Thank you, Dan. And that's going to do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news from around North Central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call at 888-6295. I'm Grant Olson. Thanks for joining us and have a great weekend.
Hey everyone, Fletcher and Amy Ellington here from Live It Up. Join us every week as we answer your questions on health, wealth, and relationships.
We're all about you creating a life that you love, so tune in to Live It Up.